Let's go with bad news. The Fever stink without Caitlin Clark.
The success of the WNBA rides on the success of the Indiana Fever and specifically Caitlin Clark. We saw the Caitlin Clark effect last season. We saw the influx of millions of new fans, billions of dollars in revenue that came to the WNBA.
Oh boy, WNBA fans, y'all are screwed. Look at that. Caitlin Clark is out 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Do you know how bad the WNBA ratings are going to be for the next 2 weeks?
The WNBA and Indiana Fever just watched millions go up in smoke, all because Caitlin Clark is injured. Ticket sales are tanking, TV ratings are going down, sponsors backing away. It's a mess. Not only this, the recent injuries of Indiana Fever players even added salt to the wounds. And on top of all that, Indiana Fever without Clark looks like a team that couldn't even beat high schoolers.
How much not only this Indiana Fever team, but the entirety of the WNBA hinges on this one player. This influx of fans coming in, they came in.
It's a disaster in plain sight because the WNBA and Fever have just lost their relevance. Is it already too late to turn this around? Or can the WNBA still save itself from the fallout? Drop your thoughts in the comments because what's happening behind the scenes is even uglier than anyone's willing to admit. So here's why the WNBA could be in big trouble now.
Without getting fined, without getting suspended, without severely getting punished. You cannot do that.
The Indiana Fever were riding Clark's coattails into packed arenas and primetime broadcasts. Now, empty seats, silent crowds, and a team so lost on the court they'd need GPS just to find the basket. For months, the league was riding higher than ever, sold-out arenas, skyrocketing TV ratings, sponsorships pouring in. It was a level of success the WNBA had never seen before.
You have the Fever as a result looking like one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league, without Caitlin Clark.
Ticket prices? Before the injury, you'd pay $86.00 just to get nosebleed seats to see Clark. Now, $25.00, and vendors are throwing in a hot dog just to get people through the doors. The Fever weren't just bad without her, they were exposed. They couldn't even beat the Washington Mystics, one of the worst teams in the league, and they made it look easy. And this is only going to get worse because now Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham have also been injured.
Clark was the big injury. She is the one that has impacted everything and sent the team into a tailspin. But in the last game, Sydney Colson goes down early with a left leg issue. Sophie Cunningham late with a right ankle twist or sprain, the one that she had already hurt. Now, Stephanie...
So the hope of Fever making a comeback has died down completely because their 3-star players are injured and can't really save them anymore? Before Caitlin Clark showed up, the Fever were barely a blip on the league's radar. Bottom of the standings, zero hype, practically invisible.
You know, you would hope the rest of that personnel that came in, the vets they have, the new coach they have, they'd be able to tread a little bit of water, but they've been sinking.
The league didn't promote them, didn't push them. They were the team you scheduled at weird times and hoped nobody noticed. But when Clark arrived, everything changed overnight. Suddenly, the Fever were front and center, prime-time slots, national broadcasts, sold-out arenas. Not because the WNBA cared about the Fever, but because they cared about what Clark could do for the bottom line. The Fever became tolerable, marketable, even celebrated, but only as long as Caitlin Clark was the one carrying them. Now that she's out, the league's true feelings are creeping back in. It's not a secret. Without Clark, the Fever are the WNBA's forgotten child again. And worse, this time everybody's watching it happen. Before Caitlin Clark showed up, the Indiana Fever played like it was still the 1980s, and not in a good way. The Fever weren't just losing, they were boring people to death. The WNBA, like most modern basketball, had moved toward faster pace, more spacing, more threes, more speed. And the Fever were slowly becoming irrelevant. Then Caitlin Clark happened. Clark didn't just bring buckets, she brought pace. She turned the Fever's dragging offense into an up-tempo, fast-break machine.
Value that Caitlin Clark brings as the offensive engine, creating almost all of the opportunities, or the lion's share of the opportunities, either scoring or assisting, setting people up, breaking down the defense, collapsing the defense so that you get open for three, pulling up for three, taking it to the rim. Everything that she does where the Fever look like they're on even footing with the Liberty, even with Caitlin Clark limited, and then they fall to the Sun and the Mystics without her.
Dragged the Fever's ancient offense into the modern era single-handedly. But now that she's out, the Fever are already sliding back to that 80s staggered slash offense. Walk it up, slow it down, miss a contested jumper, rinse and repeat. Without Clark igniting the pace, the Fever are at serious risk of becoming exactly what they used to be: slow, stagnant, and unwatchable. And here's the hard truth. Fans who got hooked on Clark's fast, electric game aren't going to stick around to watch the Fever walk the ball up like it's 1985. But now, with Clark sidelined by injury, the cracks are showing and they're widening by the day. This isn't just a rough stretch, it's a crisis.
And this kind of physicality that the WNBA they brag about. They say it's always been a physical league. That's just the heart of the it's not good basketball.
What's worse is that it didn't have to be this way. The WNBA had a rare opportunity, a once-in-a-generation superstar who brought in millions of new fans and unprecedented momentum.
Season before the new CBA negotiations, and I told you guys this is the biggest year in the WNBA. They can do so much this year if they have a good season. When the
Instead of putting systems in place to safeguard their biggest asset, they allowed opposing players to target her game after game. Instead of building a broader foundation, they made the fatal mistake of putting all their eggs in one basket.
Season. When the Indiana Fever does well, not even when they do well, when they put on a show on the court.
Networks like ESPN, ABC, and CBS weren't just airing her games, they were reworking entire schedules to showcase her. She was the main event. The Indiana Fever, a franchise barely on anyone's radar, suddenly became must-watch TV, America's newest obsession. The Indiana Fever, a franchise barely on anyone's radar, suddenly became must-watch TV, America's newest obsession. And wherever Clark went, the numbers went with her.
The WNBA at all, if it's not for Caitlin Clark in the first place. Now that she is hurt, who in the world is going to watch these games?
Clark's absence has ripped the curtain back, exposing just how precarious the WNBA's so-called boom really was. Without her, the numbers are collapsing, and the league's over-reliance on one star is suddenly impossible to ignore.
Take care of the product on the court. That's what the fans are here for. I get so upset because I actually care. And if you don't get upset about this, I don't think you care.
The TV ratings are just as brutal. When Caitlin Clark was on the court, the WNBA was pulling numbers it had only dreamed of. Over 2 million viewers tuning in week after week. But now, the Indiana Fever's latest game? Just 235,000 viewers. That's what we call a free fall. Network executives are feeling the heat too.
The WNBA at all, if it's not for Caitlin Clark in the first place. Now that she is hurt, who in the world is going to watch these games? Who in the world is going to watch a WNBA game without the biggest star the sport has seen ever? Like, this is going to be hilarious the next couple of weeks.
Advertisers are getting cold feet, and the fans, especially the wave of new ones Clark dragged into the spotlight, are disappearing just as quickly as they came. The WNBA's problems didn't begin when Caitlin Clark got injured. They started long before, with how the league handled her from the moment she arrived. No private flights, no extra security, no real protection from the escalating physicality she faced night after night.
Physicality for a second. 2 players on the Indiana Fever got injured last night by the same player on the Connecticut Sun, and that was JC Sheldon. And I tweeted about it. She was playing so reckless. I'm fine with players playing aggressive, but there is a thin line between playing aggressive and...
Clark was thrown straight into the fire. 5 games in 8 days, playing heavy minutes, all while defenders took liberties with aggressive fouls and cheap shots that went largely unchecked. And the league stood by and let it happen. Hard fouls, body checks, and clear targeting were brushed off as part of the game. A thinly veiled attempt to brand the league as tougher and more competitive.
Stations, TNT, ESPN, see how bad the ratings are when Caitlin Clark isn't playing. And then all the players are going to see, oh wow, we actually need Caitlin Clark to play in these games for us to try to...
But honestly, the damage might already be done. As for the Indiana Fever, without Clark, they look completely lost, slow, disorganized, and painful to watch. In their first game without her, they fell to the Washington Mystics, a team many rank at the very bottom of the league. They gave up over 50 points in the paint, played defense like it was optional, and moved on offense like they were stuck in quicksand.
Fever is off to a bad start, and the hype is dying down, and less people are tuning in. You don't want this to be a snowball effect, and I think it's...
Clark wasn't just the Fever's best player, she was their saving grace. Ayton actually put the WNBA on the map, and because of her, the brands started putting money into the game. She's probably the first WNBA star who's getting paid millions for endorsements. And now that's millions that the WNBA will be losing without Caitlin. Also, Caitlin Clark wasn't just filling seats for the Indiana Fever, she was lifting the entire
Caitlin Clark has just been ruled out for the next 2 weeks, and ticket sales are already down 75%.
Make no mistake, Caitlin Clark's injury isn't the WNBA's only problem. The real issue is what her absence has revealed. Just how fragile the league's success really is. There's no backup plan, no other superstar waiting in the wings, no one else with the same pull to keep the momentum alive.
Bucks. This is also against the same person who said the reason people come to watch the WNBA is because of her, talking about Angel Reese, but she cannot even keep the ticket prices up.
They're now talking about accountability and change. But honestly, it feels like too little too late, and like they just want to blame someone for everything that has happened.
10 days after their investigation, the WNBA finally shares their results. Ticket prices plummet after the news of Caitlin Clark's injury.
When Caitlin Clark stepped onto the court, she temporarily hid the league's most serious flaws. Now that she's gone, those flaws are impossible to ignore. Players who once enjoyed playing in packed arenas with national audiences are now facing half-empty stands and shrinking media attention. And they know why.
We saw broadcasters from every different network. We saw news reporters chiming in on it. We saw ESPN talking heads going at it. Like, it got actually insane.
This is creating resentment, frustration, and uncertainty. The commissioner's rumored suspension is just the latest sign that things are spiraling. For months, league leadership ignored the warning signs: the rough play, the bad officiating, the growing frustration among fans and players.
They can't afford to have this cloud of messiness over the league. It's such an important year. It's the year before the CBA. This is the year to show fans and to show the world that you belong, that you're a serious sports organization, that these women...
Now that the consequences are crashing down, they are scrambling to find scapegoats, but swapping out the commissioner won't fix the real problem. The WNBA has a leadership crisis, a vacuum at the top that no quick fix can solve. The next few weeks will be critical.
These women deserve to get paid more, that you can put out a good product. And what did they do weekend one? They started an investigation off of something that they saw on social media. It's actually wild.
And now, the WNBA is learning the most brutal lesson in sports. When you mishandle a generational star, the fallout is total. No clock, no fans, no money, no future. The WNBA thought it was finally arriving. Now, it's on the brink of disappearing. If you believe the Caitlin Clark injury has completely exposed the WNBA, make sure to hit the like button. And if you want the real updates, the ones they don't want you to hear about the WNBA and Caitlin Clark, smash subscribe and tap the bell, because this is far from over.